Welcome, you are watching Prime here on ANN7 with myself, Zafani Jansen van Vuren, and your top story this evening. The higher education authorities are bracing for possible clashes in the wake of EFF's call for walk-in applications. The minister has met with vice-chancellors to discuss the issue. Meanwhile, reports say some universities have started allowing walk-in applications. ANN7 reporter Valerie Robinson has more.
The late applications window has not even opened at universities, and already chaos looms large. Hordes of prospective students have begun descending on campuses in hopes of securing a place. This follows the economic freedom fighters' call for walk-in registrations.
After the statement today, you'll see the police were here. We have established in Pretoria what we call the VOC. The VOC is the center that where the police sit on campus. The same thing is going to happen in here. We are going to say, based on the statement that we are going to release, to say to the students, don't even bother to come to the campus anymore. Because these are the numbers that we are going to show them. That program X is full and only program B, we have got so many spaces left. And for these spaces for you to apply, go online.
However, authorities have urged those wanting to register to follow proper procedures.
The earlier you go online and actually apply, the better for you. Unlike people now driving all the way from Limpopo, from KZN, using money to come here, it's a waste. We have already communicated with the people who applied last year. The closure was in September last year. So we are busy, after we received the results from Matric, talking to those students to say, now that we have passed, come and report for registration on the 15th of January. So for us was to simply say, let's come and put logistics together and see how things are turning up.
The Higher Education Ministry is now engaging with the EFF.
We do not think that it is helpful to encourage students to go and flock outside university or TVET gates. Please use the systems that are available, which have been set up, which has been foolproof.
The EFF Student Command has threatened to shut down South Africa's 26 universities and 50 technical vocational colleges if they turn away walk-in applications. Valerie Robinson, ANN7, Pretoria.
Well, joining me in studio to discuss this further is Hendrik, Director, Media and Alumni Affairs from Higher Education Transformation Network. Thank you so much for joining me in studio and making time for us here at ANN7. First of all, let's get to the point. Does the registration online actually exclude students from registering?
Well, the online registration does not necessarily, it's not meant to exclude students from registering. But if you look at it, students do not have full confidence in the online system. If you look at students who want to go to the university for the first time, someone who's coming, for instance, from Limpopo, wanting to study at Wits University, they'd rather prefer to be there within the premises of the institution. This thing is just like online shopping, for example. Not so many people are used, to buying online. Many people prefer to go to the mall and buy things that they can see. So the same goes for higher education. Students prefer to be there within campuses. They prefer to walk into the campus to see that really I'm here and to see that I've been accepted, I've been taken. They want that feel. For you to say they must just sit in an internet cafe somewhere in Limpopo and just make an application. They don't have the sense of, it does not give them the sense of belonging to the institution. So that is why we have also called upon the institutions, to make sure that they, allow these walk-ins to take place. But at the same time, we've also written to the, South African Human Rights Commission to say that the Human Rights Commission must step into the terrain of higher education to ensure that they safeguard the right to learn of students, particularly those students from poor backgrounds.
Well, let's just go to the phone line. We have Ngebo Glamini, a student activist, also joining us on the phone line. A very good evening to Ngebo. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, I do know that your call for free higher education was very strong. How do you feel about online registration? Do you think that it's actually excluding those students?
Thank you very much for having us, and good evening to the comrades on studio and everyone at home. Look, it has its disadvantages and advantages. But as a country as well, we also need to improve with time. But it also assists to expose, to show that there is a huge level of inequality between the city schools and the schools in the rural areas. The argument is valid that it might be good for the universities, but it is not good for the masses of our people, the ones who really need the education, the ones from the rural areas, as Lalin, Nasemachochombeni. Those are the people who really don't have the access to the internet itself. Because even if you get to the internet, you still need to know what is it that you are looking for. If you are looking for UJ, how do you even search for it? So, it's really, it's difficult. But I think it's one thing that student activists, SRCs, and the universities themselves, when they do the career guidance, they have to be visiting these schools moving forward to assist the students to apply on time. We used to do it when we were still in SRC, to go to the rural areas, visit those schools, and then assist them to apply online and do all those kind of things. But the issue now is that what do we do now? Because that's a long term. We are now talking about those ones who we are saying who already have the results. I know that walk-ins have always been happening, but it has been manageable. The problem, the reason why today we are talking about walk-ins as if it's something new, is because of the thought that what will happen with the multitude if they flock into universities. But over the years, they've been manageable because 10 students will come 50 and stuff like that. So I hope that universities will allow it but manage it. Like I was at VET today, I found a lot of bouncers, I found student activists, PYA and other formations, assisting students, entering one by one to access. So I think if it is manageable, it will assist. But moving forward, universities must be decentralized. They visit the rural schools.
Well, please stay on the phone line for me. We are also joined by viewer Vertile from the Northwest. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on 8 and 7. What are your comments and to regards? Do you agree with Ncebo Dlamini that online registration actually does exclude some of the students?
Okay, thank you. Hello?
Yes, you can speak.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I want to say I'm going to differ with the rector or whoever was issuing a statement that they told us that you mustn't visit the university. I've applied for my son on time. I even paid for my application fee. Then some of the members of the SRC visited our rural area around Northwest to assist with registration, recruiting students. Then we reported to them as parents that their online whatever is not user-friendly because even if when you tried to send the receipt online, their email was not working properly. Up until somebody on Motsweding FM assisted us to give us the correct email address. That is when things went through. Around December, the very same TUT did send us some emails that they didn't get anything that we have applied, all these things. We did send them again up until the 3rd of December. Even as the security guard at the gate, he was very black, the last one at the gate that you see online now. He said to us around December they are not working. But they did send us messages that we must resend everything. We did that. Our kids do qualify for, do meet the requirements to be admitted. But when we check the status online, it says admission without status. But funny enough, those who did not meet the requirements, they do have letters from the university. They were able to access the campus. Whereas 90% of the learners who were waiting outside, they did have reference numbers just like my son without accessing entrances. The universities in Limpopo, they did respond to some people on the line that they got admission, then they just went off. I also said to myself, when I saw Pops, because I schooled before 1994, I said to myself, where Pops is involved, I'm no longer going there. Then I took my kids and went on because I don't want to suffer again because of tear gas and everything. I was okay.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the phone. And of course, we can come back to studio for our discussion. Hendrik, you are still with us. Of course, technical difficulties is also another thing to look at when we look at online registration, some of the documents not being sent through and some processes not being followed. But my question to you now, let's go over to the EFF's call for people to go to the universities and to register, to walk in register actually. So do you think it's a mischievous call by the EFF, or do you think that it's genuine of them and that they really want these students to get into university?
Well, I think if we have to put politics aside, well, it's twofold, to answer your question. On one hand, of course, it's political, but on the other hand, if we have to set aside, the differences in terms of our political outlook, it is necessary for our students to go to universities, to flock in there and to make sure that they demand to be accepted by different universities. The call for free higher education was long overdue. We've been calling for it since the early 90s when we were students ourselves. In fact, it was started by the South African Student Congress, which I was part of. It is not a new call, but of course many are taking advantage of that. But now that it is happening, yes, we cannot stop our students from proceeding into universities. That is why on this one, we agree with them that the students should go in and queue. Mcebo Dlamini has already indicated that walk-ins have been there, obviously. It's not a new thing. And universities must just find a way to manage it. Our concern is that if you look at Universities South Africa, a structure that represents all 26 universities in the country, this is a group of professors, managers who are really unable to deal with challenges facing students in institutions of higher learning. That is why we also make a call to the Department of Higher Education, particularly the Minister, Professor Hendrik Mkize, to ensure that they disband them. Because over the years, they are the ones who have been stalling transformation. Even today, they remain redundant. They are unable to really handle the situation of especially accommodating our students who come from poor backgrounds. That is why we say that, the minister should just disband them, because they just meet from time to time just to drink tea. There's nothing concrete that they are discussing, because, I've already said that they are the ones who are stalling transformation. And, we believe that the time has come for us to really find ways and means to make sure that our students are able to study in environments that are conducive.
Let's go across to our viewer now, Kwanya from the Eastern Cape, joining us on the phone line. Good evening to you, Kwanya. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, just give us your reaction in regards to the EFF's call for students to go for walk-in registrations at universities.
Yes, on the EFF, I agree with the EFF. The students should go to university and register, not online. Other students are coming from disadvantaged area. So we need the people, or the university should hire the people to help those students they need to register on the university on Tshwane.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Mcebo Dlamini also still on the phone line. Just give us your reaction in regards to EFF's call for students. Do you also agree with them? Do you think that it is needed for the students to go in for walk-in registrations this year?
Well, look, like you said, the comrade just spoke now. It's twofold. It is a call that we have always been making, that the doors of learning must be open for all. But if we then look at it in terms of saying that people, they must just flock and do walk-ins unmanageable, then it's a reckless statement to make. But it is a statement that we can't close doors for our people, because now you can't say stay home because you have not applied. So the walk-ins must be manageable. Now, I am also looking at the call by the EFF as a very tactical and political one. Because if we, as student activists, were to say we are not agreeing with walk-in, it makes you a hypocrite. If at the same time you say you agree on a walk-in, it then says you are a hooligan, you are unreasonable, You are just those people who don't want to assist government in assisting. But I am saying all the parties must come together and assist us in this one. Government must play a role. Universities must also play a role, manage the walk-in. Our people must come and apply, but also the problem, there is no space to accommodate all of us. These universities were never meant for us, black people. Since 1994, we never changed them to suit us. These universities were built for a minority white people in that West University till today can't take more than 7,000 first year. Now you are saying that 400,000 students are qualifying to go to university. Where are they going to go? West University can only take 7,000. UJ can only take 10,000. Stellenbosch can only take 2,500. UCT can only take 5,000. So those are the top universities in South Africa. They can't take more than 50,000. So where should the rest go? Because we haven't improved Teflon. We haven't improved Unifair. We haven't improved Fort Hare. We haven't improved roads and Ngoye, Mangosuthu. So that's where the problem is. We closed the teachers' colleges. We closed the nursing colleges. We closed the agricultural colleges. Now there is a vacuum. Now there will be walk-ins and stampedes. Our people will die. Our people will stay home with qualification, having passed. That's where the problem is. That's where I fight blatant demand. Give face, give money.
Well, please stay on the line for us. Malusi, a view from KZN, also joins us on the phone line. Good evening to you, Malusi. Will you just give us your regards? Do you think that these walk-ins should be allowed and that they should just be better managed?
You see, these things need to be very managed, because you see in this situation we are seeing the EFF particularly playing some football games with politics. This call that they say walk-ins must be, they're encouraging walk-ins. I agree with this, but it should be to a manageable situation where there are guards and everything to ensure that our people in particular are safe, And it's just, it needs to be in a point where it's securable, and stuff. And people of our country must also follow the later procedures. We can't be having 20,000 people going to universities when they can just go online, and register. I think as black people, we need to be educated when it comes to these technical devices and stuff. It needs to be brought up on a level where, where people grow up with the knowledge of these things.
Thank you so much for joining us. Also on the phone line is Thomas from Durban. Good evening to you, Thomas. Well, your interest in regard, do you think that these walk-in applications should be allowed and better managed? Do you think that it is a good call from the EFF side?
Yes, I'd like to support the motion because, the announcement of the president about this new, you see the assistance. There are people who passed in the previous years who could not afford to pay for themselves. But now, because of this announcement, it will help them. Because now they didn't apply, they didn't get that opportunity to apply online because they were not actually aware. But now, because of the announcement from the president, it is the time for them now that they have to take that advantage, because they passed so well, but they could not do anything online. It was not available for them because they.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the phone line, Thomas. Let's come back to my guest in studio, Hendrik Makanesa. Now, Hendrik, how urgently do you think, or how real do you think is this warning from the EFF Student Command that they will shut down universities in South Africa if the walk-in applications do not take place?
Well, You never know, really. I think that this is not the only that one can underestimate. You know, we also what happened in 2015, and you know, students really want to study. That's the reality. They want to come in and study, and if they are excluded or if they don't get a place, it can be a difficult situation to handle. So I'm just saying that the call by the EFF should not be set aside. It's not something that we must undermine. It's something that we must really take serious. Government must stand ready to ensure that, you know, they find alternative ways of managing it. I'm glad that the Deputy Minister has already initiated meetings with the EFF, and I hope that out of those meetings something can come out, you know, which will, but like Mcebo Dlamini has already said, we also can't stop our students if they want to come and study. Let them come. You know, the issue of bouncers is problematic. You know, we really don't want our students to be hurt. You know, these universities are public institutions. Let our students be allowed to come in and, you know, to try and apply, those who have not yet applied as well. And let the university look at those applications, and you know, those who qualify, let them be admitted so that they can be able to study.
Now, Mcebo, let me come to you just for your closing remarks. Do you think that we can expect another fees muster fall rifle like we had in 2015, 2016, or do you think that the walk-in applications would not be such a big issue?
Well, look, when you talk of fees must fall, remember, fees must fall. It's like it's a movement. Now, when it's a movement, it only comes up when there's an injustice somewhere. It's not a political party. It's a social movement. Now, if ever there is a problem, because fees must fall encompasses the challenges that students face on daily basis on campus. With the free education in place now, the challenges of accommodation, because you can't separate accommodation and teaching and learning. You can't go to Harvard and not knowing where you are going to be sleeping there in England. But in South Africa, you come to Joburg, coming all the way from Leboa Khomo and Tanin Kian to Joburg, you don't even know where you are going to sleep here. So those are the challenges that we are facing. We wanted to separate accommodation from teaching and learning. So that's where the challenges will be. But on the issue of free education, we will be hypocritic as student activists, not to commend the ANC government for eventually succumbing to a genuine call of free education. It doesn't matter that we forced them. That's the role of young people. Nothing comes easy. It is our job as young people to force the old guard and direct them, redirect them, because the office and those air conditions makes people to be comfortable, and they forget the genuine struggles on the ground. So those who are on the ground must remind them and force the hand. So from where I stand, we accept the free education for first years, and that's what we were calling for when we said we want free education not for us, but for generations to come. So anyone who will then protest and reject this genuine call, then that person is a devil and is a witch, because it means he was lying. We spilled blood for our people. We disturbed the peace of this country for hypocritic reasons. I appreciate the call, and I accept everyone to support it. And it is going to have problems. As students and the public, we must assist government and then to provide leadership on how to roll these things smoothly. It will be perfect probably next year. It's still a pilot project. It needs to be polished. It needs to be assisted, and we are available to do that. I don't see any fees must fall protest anytime soon based on free education. If government is going to work with universities, we can't then have vice chancellors like Adam Habib who wants to be different, fight everything that government does. Government announces free education. He twerks and speaks whatever he wants. up until UNISA and other serious universities, TUT and DUT, accept the announcement. Then, you know, when we have such people, we will never move forward as a country. But I think the only thing that will remain from now is the historical debt. We would ask that government attend to that one. I know people who have graduated but can't be employed because they are owing university. I think you government...
I'm going to have to ask you just to hold on your comment there. We are out of time now, but thank you so much for joining us on the phone line. Of course, that was Mqebo, a Dlamini student activist, just giving us his thoughts on the matter. And also all our viewers, thank you so much for phoning into the studio. And also to my studio guest, Hendrik Makaneta, Director of Media and Alumni Affairs at Higher Education Transformation Network, for joining me in studio and discussing this further. We'll take a short break now. I'll be back with more news and updates, so do stay with us.